Hey everybody, welcome back to Extreme Weather Zone. We have 3 days in a row of severe weather in different locations across the US. So that's what we'll be talking about in this video, but first, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more severe weather updates. So, we have 3 days of severe weather in various locations across the US. First, we have a Day 1 enhanced risk of severe weather across eastern Ohio and into Pennsylvania. And this is actually because of a significant chance of wind, strong winds, and hail. Large hail could be significant in northwestern Pennsylvania. And this is actually going to be happening over the next couple hours. And then we have a Day 2 double enhanced risk. We have 2 enhanced risks and a slight risk of severe weather. So we have an enhanced risk over Nebraska and Kansas, and then a separate enhanced risk over Oklahoma into northern Texas. And this is for significant hail. There could be significant large hail. The chance of tornadoes is actually relatively low. And there's also a chance of strong winds, but there's also a slight risk of severe weather over southeastern Virginia. So that's a separate severe weather event, and that's only for hail and winds. And then a Day 3 enhanced risk of severe weather over Iowa and Missouri. And then a Day 4 slight risk of severe weather over Indiana and Kentucky. So this is all over the place. And so we have the major kind of enhanced risk severe weather event tomorrow, and Tuesday is going to be from this storm. This is what I was saying, an invisible storm. This is the current satellite imagery showing. Actually, it shows here's where the enhanced risk is over Pennsylvania. We have some thunderstorms starting to develop there, and that's going to bring the chance for severe weather over there for the next couple hours, maybe a few hours, and that kind of goes away. But this is the bigger severe weather producer. This is kind of a low pressure system that I'm saying is an invisible storm because it's not producing as much precipitation as it kind of goes eastward, but it does help to fuel severe weather, from Nebraska all the way down into northern Texas, and then that pushes further eastward into Iowa, Missouri, and even Indiana and Kentucky over the next few days. And so we have this system right here, and this is basically we have this, this trough, this low pressure system kind of over the southwest, but out ahead of it is where we have the chance for severe weather. So this is going into Monday evening, because it's going to be later on Monday when the severe weather is supposed to be, and you have the winds aloft kind of spreading outward, and so that's where we're looking at the potential for severe weather in that area. And so there's that. Now, this is the NAM 3-kilometer model showing the simulated precipitation, simulated radar, and this shows at about 8 p.m. So this is, right now, basically going to be some thunderstorms showing up in a line. This is kind of a line of thunderstorms over from northeastern Ohio across Pennsylvania. And so this is going to bring the potential for large hail and strong winds, but not really a tornado risk with this. And then this kind of goes southward over the next couple hours, and then pretty much by like 11 or so, maybe 12, midnight basically, it fizzles out. And so that's pretty much it for that event. This is a sounding kind of from Pennsylvania, and it shows severe weather. This is not a tornado event at all. There's some instability for hail and strong winds. There's that slight risk of severe weather in southeastern Virginia. Here's where that is. That's a slight risk, not much in terms of significant severe weather. Possibly some severe thunderstorms, but not really a tornado event with that either at all. So this is Monday night. So the thing is, this is not like a moderate risk. So this is actually not really an extremely high-end severe weather event. It's just that there's chances of severe weather in various locations across the U.S. over the next few days. But it's not a very high-end risk of like a lot of tornadoes or anything like that. And this is actually, this would be at like 1 a.m. or maybe about close to midnight or so in Kansas. You have these thunderstorms starting to explode there, and then also possibly severe thunderstorms in Nebraska. And this is actually at night, and so it's mostly hail and winds, and this kind of goes through Kansas, Nebraska. They were also thinking there could be some severe weather in Oklahoma and in northern Texas. It's not really showing that here, but there's quite a bit of instability with this. So, there's going to be some thunderstorms that can, produce hail and strong winds and potentially some tornadoes, but it's not a huge tornado outbreak or anything that they're expecting. And so there's possibly 3,000 joules a kilogram of CAPE in Kansas at this point, and then anywhere from 2,000 to 3,500 really in a lot of places. And then this goes further east into that enhanced risk of severe weather over Iowa and Missouri. There's about 2,000 joules of CAPE over there. The dew points are pretty high. Like, this is kind of Monday night, and you have dew points in the low to mid 60s all the way into Nebraska, and then in the mid to kind of upper 60s down here in Oklahoma. There's a lot of moisture for severe thunderstorms. It's just not, everything isn't lining up for a huge tornado outbreak or anything, but still, there's going to be some severe weather, so stay weather aware if you're in those areas. And then there's also dew points in the low to mid 60s. Dew points in the low to mid 60s in Iowa and Missouri on Tuesday with that severe weather event. And this is just the most unstable CAPE. You have CAPE instability today, really, tonight, and then that just builds. And then you have, this is streaming far to the north. So this is the most unstable CAPE. This is going all the way up to 3,500 joules a kilogram in Nebraska, and so that's where you have the severe weather outlook there. And then even about 2,000 over Iowa and Missouri. Interestingly enough, this is a CSU model. It's not even showing a huge severe weather outlook. It's showing, maybe a 5% risk of tornadoes, which is smaller than SPC's outlook. And the wind and the hail is also not that intense, but it does show the strongest probability of strong winds is in southern Oklahoma and northern Texas. The strongest probability of hail is in Nebraska, along with a slight chance of tornadoes. But then for some reason it does show more severe weather in Iowa and Missouri and even Arkansas for day 3. We'll see if that happens, and then also for day 4. We'll see how accurate that kind of experimental model forecast is. The shear is pretty strong in some of these areas, but if the storms don't really, because there is capping, so if the storms don't really fire up there, then nothing's really going to happen. They weren't really showing a lot of storms in southern Oklahoma and everything, but this is the shear forecast, and it shows a lot of shear, and then it pulls eastward, and so this would be on Tuesday. You have a lot of shear. This is just the bulk shear is showing like 70 knots, which is That's a lot of shear. Significant tornado parameter. This would be, kind of where the storms are. You see, 4 or 5. So there could be, a few tornadoes if that actually goes into those storms. But the STP is extreme down in Oklahoma. But they're actually in this same location. There aren't any storms expected. So you can have a lot of favorable conditions, but if there's no storms to really use that, then nothing's really going to happen. Now, the HRRR actually shows some really high STP, but also no storms. So that's the thing. It's like, now this is showing about. This is the HRRR now. This is probably more accurate. This is showing some storms in northern Texas, southern Oklahoma. This is probably what would produce some strong winds. The HRRR is a little different with where it really shows the storms forming, and this is kind of around the low pressure systems right here. You have storms forming to the north of that, and this can generate some strong tornadoes in some severe weather setups. And now that's possible. We have these storms kind of rotating around that low pressure system. We'll see what happens, but it could really help to create some really large hail. That's what it looks like right now. And this is the updraft helicity. This would show where you're going to have rotating thunderstorms, which this is not a guarantee of tornadoes. This is just showing rotating updrafts, which that can lead to large hail. And you see that in Nebraska on Monday night, and then this goes into Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening in Iowa and Missouri, and even some pretty strong updrafts. This is like total updraft helicity. It really doesn't, the NAM 3 kilometer model doesn't want anything really forming down in northern Texas, southern Oklahoma. It just doesn't show anything. It shows a stronger northern mode. The southern part of the system, it doesn't really want to do much with it. The HRRR is actually pushing that northern mode a bit further north and less intense, but it did show some storms. This is showing some really intense storms in northern Texas, interestingly enough, and that would be, at the same time frame, Monday evening, actually, down in Texas. So, it's a good thing to look at different models, see what different models are showing. That's useful for kind of looking, see which one makes the most sense. Yeah, we'll have to see. The conditions are favorable for severe weather if storms are going to develop in that area, and so it is favorable. This was kind of a sounding from where there are no storms. So this is, you can't just look at what the potential hazard type is. If there's no storm in that area, then you won't really have anything. And so there is a lot of instability in southern Oklahoma. If you were in like western Oklahoma, if there are storms able to form, which it doesn't really look like that's the main area where the storms are going to form, you could have like a really, really intense severe weather. But that's not what they're expecting. But it just goes to show how unstable this is. The lifted index is -11. If you're like, I think, -6, -8, that's pretty unstable. This is extremely unstable. And then you have your CAPE, and then you have the potential hazard type of tornado. But this is not, and this is saying a 74% chance of a tornado in almost hail, almost 3 inches. That was just kind of from the sounding, but remember, there's no storms where this sounding was from, so that's just kind of an interesting thing to notice. But yeah, this is the severe weather for Monday and Tuesday, and then on Wednesday there is also potentially some severe weather in kind of Indiana, Kentucky. This is let's see if actually it doesn't go out that far, but it does show that the instability, if you look, there is some decent instability going into that area, and this is where they're thinking the most potential for severe weather would be, and I think that's going to extend further south, and the CSU model is kind of showing that. For the severe weather, it's capped over here, but this kind of area, if we can see further south, yeah, so that whole area, there's the potential for severe weather into Wednesday. We'll have to see what happens with that. CSU is continuing severe weather, small probability of severe weather even into day 7, which would be, I guess, like, that's for Saturday. So, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, this is not a huge severe weather outbreak that's really expected. It's just a slight to moderate chance of severe weather in several places over the next several days. So thanks for watching this video. Please be sure to hit the like button, share the video, comment, subscribe if you haven't already for more severe weather updates. Extreme Weather Zone